Tātou, no mai, hoki mai ki tēnei o ngā hōtaka, me ki he wā o te kōrero ki te kaupapa o te kīorahi. Nā reira ki inua tātou, he honore, he kororia ki te atua, he mau ngā roa ki rungi te whenua, he whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Mene. Tēnei te tuku mihi kia kōrua aku tuakana i tēnei ao, mō tō whakawātea i o koutou pō, ki te huitahi mai, mō te aha, mō te whakaputa i o koutou, i o kōrua whakaaro, ngā pukenga, ngā wheako ki tēnei ao miharo ko te ao kīorahi. So I just wanted to welcome Danny and Ora back for another kōrero. Really stoked to have you guys put your hands up to share with us, the masses and the coaches and those who are learning the game, and just, accelerate our learning a little bit in this coaching world, because it can be quite a tough challenge. So nā reira, tēnā te mihi kia kōrua. And just before we get into that nitty gritty stuff and get those coaching boards out, I'd like to start off with a pātai for the both of you, just in regards to, your coaching philosophy and your coaching style. And when you first started coaching your kura, your teams, how would you describe your coaching style and philosophy? And then take a stock now, 2022, however many years have been in the game, has your coaching style and philosophy changed or evolved at all, and in what ways? So hoatu te rākau kia kōrua, tērā pēr hoatu kia koe e hoa ora, whakamohio mai o kōrero.
Tuatai ake rā ngā mihi anō kia koe, o te tihi mo te tūwhare tō tātou hui. Mihi kau atu ana kia koe hoki, e te hoa, te tuakana e Danny, o te hāpai tēnei o te kaupapa, tō tātou kaupapa nui a KIORAHI. I guess in terms, for me, I've always looked at, I don't know if it's a philosophy, but I think it just doesn't happen in KIORAHI. It happens in sort of everything we do. I think in a smallly based around tikanga and all of us coming together. I guess if I did have a style for kīorahi, it would always be based around, it's a team effort, always a team effort. And I think that just comes from coming from small schools, pretty much we only got, like, all up in our school, we maybe have 70 boys, and maybe 80 girls. And out of all those people who actually play kīorahi, there's only maybe lucky if we can get 20 kids that play kīorahi. So in terms of looking at that and seeing where kīorahi's come from, we always knew back then that it was only a matter of time before the bigger schools came along. And in terms of the depth that they have, in terms of you've got 4 fast boys out there, and you got even 4 faster boys waiting, on the bench for those big schools, because that's who they can pick from. And so our thing over the years is, I've always said, we've never had the most talented kids. We've never had a whole lot of speed or skill wise like some of the other schools. So that's where we reflect and come back to. We always get through as a team. It's always a team effort, and everybody understanding our game plan, and our game plan is a reflection of the makeup of our kids we have that year. So we haven't had one style and remained with that one style throughout the years, because you get different kids every year. Your team changes, the game changes, the different strategies out there. So for us, it's about doing what's best for us at that point in time. But if we're lucky to have a couple of individuals, that can have a spark, the game and the game plan has never evolved around them. It's always evolved around pretty much, I would say, what our weaknesses are, and it's about us being strong in that part, because you don't need to work on your strengths because you already know what those are. Yeah, so that's just pretty much, if there was a philosophy, that's what I say goes.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much it. You listen
to that was some gold nuggets we dropped in that kōrero. Pēhea o whakaaro, Danny, share with the Māori, share with the audience, you know, some of the inner workings of that brain. Yeah, what?
Orite, real, it was cool to hear your whakaaro, bro, Ora. I'm pretty much the same, honestly. We do share a lot of similarities. Our school is a small one too, so a lot of mine has always been about encouraging all of our kids, as many kids as possible, to come and play kīorahi at the kura, because if we're just taking kids that do play your sports, then we're not probably going to have a full team. Even though kīorahi only requires a small amount of numbers, we still need to rely on kids who haven't really played a lot. So yeah, a lot of my time teaching kīorahi has always been trying to encourage someone who didn't really play sports to give it a go, and just giving them as much confidence as possible that they can do it. And that also evolved over time. You know, when I first started, I was just taking the kids who were handies, who were going hard out at PE and stuff like that. But over time, I changed that, because when I started finding some of the kids who hadn't played a lot of sport, they started to come with their own attributes. They started to come with just a desire to work hard. Some of them were real intelligent kids, so they're used to putting in a bit of homework, and they knew that if they were come in to play some sport, that they would really need to push themselves, and they did. So yeah, that whakaaro changed over time, and it needed to, being at a small kura. Like Ora, sort of come from a rugby league background, so team and playing as a team was important. So you sort of do appreciate the different sizes playing league. Everyone's different size, different attributes, or they can contribute well to any sport. So there's no difference in kīorahi. So yeah, but just really trying to hone in on playing as a team. We're never going to be like your Hamilton boys and girls, your like your big schools, and have kids who are backing up from playing sevens, kids who are backing up from playing first 15. So we have to rely on teamwork, and I suppose that's how my trainings go. It's team focused. It's trying to give encouragement to not only the good ones, because they will go hard no matter what, but more so the ones who are just playing their role. I love coaching the girls. Girls are probably my favorite to coach. You tell them anything, like Ora said, my way or the highway sort of thing. Girls are that way. Like they just want to contribute. They just want to be told what to do, how to do it, and they'll do it exactly how you tell them. So I love and really value our girls, and I think that's a real unique part of kīorahi. And I use any opportunity I can to highlight the girls' play when our boys, heads are getting too big, or they're holding on to the ball for too long. So yeah, just very, very similar. Big on those types of things. I probably wouldn't yell at anyone for dropping a pass or making mistakes, whether it's at training or in a game. But if you're talking when I'm talking, or you're late to training and stuff, then I'll give it to you. So I really value those sort of things that can sort of transfer over into life as well. But yeah, that's about it, bro. I think I covered it.
Aware. I particularly love to hear both of your kōrero about being a team first mentality, and then you paid attention, Ora, in regards to when you have a generation in your team, a core or whatever, and then it's their time is done and you've got a new crew. then you can't actually just replicate what you did with the previous generation, that core team, because they're different kids. And I love that because I will be farewelling quite a large chunk of year 13s in my team this year. And it's sort of been like, oh, sheesh, you know, we made quite a lot of ground just for us, just for our own school, our own team. We made quite a bit of ground, and they did have a style. And I thank you for sharing that. It's all right to then not recreate the wheel, but just to maximize what the next generation brings. So that's karawe era whakaaro kōrua. All right, sweet. I hope those listeners got their notepads out. Well, you don't need to because Danny's recording it. But anywho, I tēnei wā a hoatu te rākau anō ki a koe ora. And you know, this is the moment for our either experienced or learning coaches, but those who want to get a real insight into your mind and how you see the game. This is their chance to pay attention and learn a thing or two. And that's what I will be doing. So without further ado, hoatu ki a koe e hoa, and you know, share some of your inner workings about this kīorahi game and field.
I guess just before I want to go in and look to talk about a little bit about game plan. I guess one of the beautiful things of our kura is that's happened, that's definitely helped us, is that we always take our all our year 9 and year 10s. It's compulsory to play kīorahi, and so what we used to do is we used to go and play. This was before COVID and everything. But all our year 9s and year 10s would go and play at the year 9 and 10 tournament, you know. And of course, we would split them into those who wanted to be serious and then those who didn't want to play serious, who just wanted to have fun. But within that, every year 9 and 10, you would learn the structure of how our senior team played, or our number 1 team played. So, you know, whether you decided that you want to go in and play kīorahi, you still had an understanding of, you know, what defense we play, or how we play attack, or how we break the field up and how we structure, and you know, those sorts of things. So in terms of growing our kids, once they came in, you know, whether it be their first year or second year there, they already had an idea of what to expect at that sort of level, you know. And so it mightn't be as fast as the learning kids mightn't be as quick, or, you know, they mightn't have a good throw and everything, but they could definitely jump in their team and understand which position to play and where to go, and the type of style that we did play, you know. And I guess that's where it leads me to now, and talking about the two types of kīorahi that's out there, you know. And so when it first started out, there was only man-to-man, you know. Back in 2010, 2011, there was only man-to-man. There was no such thing as a zone. And man-to-man is, you know, when we talk about it, it's pretty much like you pick somebody out on the opposition and you just stick with them as best you can, you know. And that's pretty much what man-to-man is. And so I'm just gonna go through a couple of types of things. Let me show. Is that up on your screen? Cool. So at the very beginning, you know, that this is what everything looked like. Where at the beginning is you had the pink, which is the defenders, and then we just had the white circles, which is the attackers, and pretty much wherever they went, you went. You know, back in the day, in man-to-man. And over time that changed, but I still see the pros and cons of man-to-man. And pretty much you're going to look at your team and go, yep, I've got a quick, fast team that can stay with it. And I think for new coaches or new people coming into kīorahi, that's what you need to understand first, is the makeup of your team. Do you have the speed? And do you have the fitness to be able to keep up with a team that can run all day, you know, that can step left and right? And if you think you have that in your team, well, then by all means play man-to-man. One of the biggest things though is you definitely still need to have good communication in man-to-man. Is when you actually have the ball and you're on defense and you go to throw at the tipu. when you need to have heavy communication from, and most times we all know that the boys go in because they want to throw and they got the big arm, that they'll go into the roto and throw. And this is the biggest part where teams get caught out, is knowing where your man is. And so it's really important that when you play man-to-man and you've gone in to throw at the tipu, that the girls are communicating to you whereabouts, you know, your man's gone. So it's in that first 10, 15 seconds after they've got the ball back that it's a crazy, you know, scramble to follow up and get your man back. But for us, you know, pretty simple. That's what a man-to-man looks like, man-to-man defense. Where they go, you go. It's good if you can stay with them and apply pressure, because then that means they're not going to get the ball, or if they get the ball, you're right on top of them. What it does mean, though, is if you get beat, it's pretty much a try. And if you can, there's always this an extra person that covers in the roto, and so we call that person the scooter. So the scooter is sort of like the fullback in behind the line. And you know how we used to have the halfback back in the days when Danny was halfback playing for Manurewa in behind the line. It went halfback and then it went fullback. Hey, Peter Hiku and the Bromwich brothers out there on the outside of him. Hey, Danny. So for us, you know, that's pretty much what a man-to-man looks like. And then over time, you know, it's how do I go next? As usual.
I'll just jump in there, bro, while you're sort of switching it up. I know when we first came to KIORAHI Nationals, we'd never seen a man-to-man. And then we get there and, well, majority of the good teams were playing it. You guys at Whanganui, you guys were, Rakaumanga was utilising it. You had you know, like you said, you had a pretty fast, fit, athletic team. And like you were saying before, you got to look at the makeup of your team. Like we went there, we seen that was a real common defense at the time, and we were just like, nah, this is not for us. You know, we like I was saying earlier, we don't have 16 fit, fast kids. We didn't even have maybe a starting 8. You know, so after that tournament, we decided, no, we're not going to use that. We're going to come up with our own defense, and because that's what works for us, and we'll do that because we're good at working as a team. So that fit our strength. But yeah, the other side of that is, yeah, if you know you're in a tournament, you know there's a chance that there's going to be a man-to-man defense. So you got to do your best to prepare for that, because if you don't prepare for a man-to-man defense, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. It could be that, you know, you're still a better team than the other team, but it just throws you off for that 5 minutes, that one quarter, and that's enough to allow you to slip behind. I don't know if I told you, but we, in that 2019 final, used man-to-man us. Rakaumanga man-to-man, Ngā Tapuwae in the final, and bro, that was honestly enough to throw us off in the game. We lost by 2, but we hadn't even prepared. Normally when I run training, we train for about 10 weeks, and maybe a good 3 to 4 of those weeks leading up to the tournament, we'll try and mimic as many defenses as possible. But we didn't do a man-to-man. I thought the man-to-man had finished, bro. I thought it was over. The year before, 2018, that was Gizzy. We played, the whole tournament, nobody man-to-man us. You guys didn't man-to-man us in the final. And so I was like, okay, well, it doesn't exist anymore. You know, we've come in with our kind of defense, and maybe we've changed how things are played. And you just got me, bro. You outsmarted us on that one, and because I think I watched a few of your games at Napier in 2019, and I didn't see man-to-man. Yeah. So you hit it well, bro. Because I didn't even think we were gonna come up. You know, at least in our brief before the final, I would say, now watch out, these guys might go man-to-man. I didn't even let them know. So it we were already 1 quarter too late before I could prep them. You know, at half time, that was my only time to go, okay, they're man to man. Here's what we're gonna do. So yeah, just I suppose just another thing, you know, if while you're out there and you're trying to find what defense suits you, if you're gonna do well at competition, you need to make sure you prepare for every kind of defense that you know is possible. Otherwise, you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot.
And it was it's funny that you say that, you know, that you brought that up, because you know, if I hadn't learned anything in 3 years, you know, because the first year we played you in Auckland, you know, and that was actually the first year we changed. We left man to man because we couldn't play man to man because we had Hamilton boys and girls, and I knew that we wouldn't be able to keep up with the speed of them, because the year before that we lost to them in the semi-final, and that was the year that Hamilton won it.
Yeah,
Tokoro. So we played them in the semis, and you know, and we lost, and I knew that we couldn't keep up with that. So we went in, and then we started playing a 4-man zone, and we went to the regionals the following year. I remember, and we played the zone. Usually, you know, you change up something when you're getting like 14-0. We were maybe 14-2 in the second quarter, and they were looking at me like, "What are you doing? You're getting hammered. Why don't you go to your man to do anything?" Like, for us, I said, I'd already told our team, we've qualified. It's not about us trying to win the regionals. I don't want to be the champion of the regionals. The bigger goal is when we go to the nationals. So for us, it was learning as much as we could in that game. And so during that game, you know, we ended up getting a hotting like 32-7 or something. And that was the first year ever we had actually lost the regionals and all the times that we had gone in. And like, you know, I was saying, you know, it's all right because we're going to go again in a couple of weeks' time in Auckland. And then sure enough, we met each other in the semi-finals. And even though it was great in playing against and getting in the final, and that was actually pretty much, we had sort of played our grand final, was that semi-final, because it was always about beating Hamilton boys and girls. And so we played the zone, and so we went with that, and then and it was me too. I hadn't come across to watch Ngā Tapuwae to see what they were playing.
True.
Yeah, and then to be fair and honest, I didn't think I would be playing Ngā Tapuwae. You know, I thought I'd be playing against Gisborne boys and girls, you know, being the following year. And then here we are, you know, us and Danny, we were playing, you know, and then what I saw of that, you know, the press defense of what Ngā Tapuwae had come off, you know, and one of the things that I understand about our kids, and I've seen it across the whole KIORAHI every year, because we train so hard to come up with strategies for certain plans. When you come up against something that's brand new and you need to work it out there and there on the spot, it takes our kids a bit of time. You have like 3 or 4 kids who can grasp it and change, and they can just play what they see in front of them. But to get a whole team to that level, it's pretty hard. And I totally get it, because we've only got, our kids aren't athletes. They come together for the love of kīorahi, and they listen to, this is what I do, so they know how to do that. So for me now, definitely it's about going out and throwing different things at our kids to make them, you know, understand what's going on. So after that, you know, we went to Gisborne, we met again. We sort of thought we had worked on something again, but, you know, it didn't come off. So I looked at our team and I said, we're good enough to go and play man to man. But what we did do on the first day is I said, we're just going to play zone. You know, one was to not let it out of the bag that we're going to play man, but it was just to conserve energy.
True.
Because when you play zone, you know, you're not chasing a person around for the whole time you're out there. You know, you can just stand there and let them take points and then shut them out. And so that's what we done. And it was funny because we played Palmy boys and girls at the end of the day. And we just won by 1.
True.
And so, you know, I knew, come tomorrow, if we play them again, they're going to get a shock because then they just beat us and we made a few mistakes in there, but just by playing the zone. But that's because you've got time to collect. In the zone, you can collect up all that. There's not that much pressure. So the very next day, funny enough, we ended up playing them again. And I think they came into the game really confident, as you would, going, we just lost by 1 point, you know, but in the first quarter, the game was pretty much over.
Cool.
We were pretty much up, you know, 12 up like that. And then it was funny because Raps came over and he said, "Far, you switched up and you went to man." And I said, "Oh, well, I just hope Danny still puts his 2 gills in the middle."
Yeah.
Hey, because then you've still got, you know, when I knew that happened and we played man, we still had 2 scooters where we're used to just having 1.
Right.
So, you know, when I seen Danny, and because the girls were awesome, and I could understand why you'd put them in there, because they just blocked everything out, you know, and they worked really well together. And it was a winning formula, you know, that had been going. So, you know, that sort of stuff. So a lot of it was for us, you know, I suppose this is for the teams that can sort of get around the higher end of things. It's just seeing what's out there, you know, and what you go back on and you rework.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was an interesting one for us in terms of that. That team could play man. I think, you know, the year after, maybe last year we were still lucky enough that we could still play man. But, you know, now when you've got a different team, you know, that you need to know a lot of different things. And I guess that leads me to the next one, you know, after seeing that's how you play man to man, is having a look what's out there, which the majority of people play is the zone DA, where you have the 4 in the middle, and then some play it different. Where the other is, I always call that the 12, and we just use it as a clock, 12, 3, 6, 9. So that's usually where people go away, and the rest you're in the quarters, you know. So we always use the marama as 12 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock is straight opposite. You know, it's just easy for people to understand when they come in, just to see how that is, and you're just covering each other's in the zone. So that's pretty much what a zone looks like. But then,
so if I can jump in just on that first zone, is there a preference in terms of whether the tane or the wahine are in the roto, or is that what the colours are?
Yeah. So you know, it's like some play. The majority of the schools I've seen, they play the boys in. They play the boys in, and they leave the girls out. And there's a couple of types of zones there that I'm going to talk about. There's the zone where you just cover the area and they only go as far to the next boy. So the girls are never going to end up beside each other. They're never going to chase that far around, in terms of what I've seen of some teams in their zone. In the early stages of zones I'm talking about, you know, this is what people used to play. And then there's also, you know, what does it look like? You know, so if you've got the white on attack, and then as you can see, you've got the girls on boys. That's the next zone that people are playing. So they'll leave the girls free. A lot of people will leave the girls free, and they'll put their girls on boys and apply the pressure that way, and then they'll keep a zone on the inside. Or sometimes it's vice versa on what their preference is. But you know, I think girls are really good at ripping inside the middle. They pay a lot more attention to that. So it's about you understanding, if you're going to play that type of zone, you know, and you're going to apply the pressure to the boys, you know, is it good to have your girls on a boy? Hey, are they quick enough to stay with them? Or would you rather just put your boys on boys and leave the girls on the inside? And these are all the things that we need to think about when we're choosing what type of zone that we're going to play, you know. Chiming in on any of that?
Can I get in just a quick partai, because I'm digesting this as quick as possible. In terms of maybe like fundamentals and skills that each defense needs. So I mean, is it a zone D has to be playing passing lanes, or ripping is paramount, or pressure and footwork is paramount? So is there, do you score each skill differently, or not? Or do you actually think, oh, okay, now that we're playing this defense, we need to play the passing lanes better and have better awareness or our ripping needs to be on point, so we're going to train that. Is there any of that whakaaro happening, for these defensive strategies?
I think there's a couple of things there. I think the first thing that teams need to do first, and I see it a lot, and I always go and tell a lot of people that first things first is, we always say you need to defend shallow. And what I mean by that is you need to be closer to the outer line of the roto, not close to the pāwero. So if you're close to the pāwero, we say you're drowning, you're too deep in the water. And what that means is it's pretty much they're going to dive at your feet and you're too late. But if you're defending up in the shallow end of the water where they first go into the roto, well, then you've got a better chance if you miss to still get at them and rip away in terms of those things. So just making sure that's the first thing that when on our defense, that you're up shallow to the outside, and then there's that. If you've got good communication and that you're pushing together, you could actually scare people away. They're not going to go in just because they see numbers. And a lot of times it happens, they think, oh, no, I'm not going to get in. So you've done your job, and then you just put pressure on the outside and try and get a drop ball, or once they do run in, it's too late, you've shut it down in terms of a defense. But you've got to have good comms, if you haven't moved around far enough, because as you know, the field is huge, and you've got to be able to leave your number on the clock, or to leave your certain quarter of the circle to shift around. Because if you don't shift around, you're going to be in trouble. And so in terms of playing this type of D, sometimes you're going to find that you're marking nobody, and that's what you definitely need to realize, because they think they've got to stay in their quarter of the field, when actually they turn around to have a look that there's no one there. So what's the next best thing to do is get in behind somebody and have a look. And like for me, the best thing is, you stand half on. And what I mean by that is where you can see the tipu and you can see the defenders, no good defending with your back to the tipu because you don't know where the ball's going, or your back to the defenders. So one thing that we definitely need to do is stand side on and have a look where the ball is, where the tipu is, and where the outside defenders. And as long as you're communicating that way, you're safe to see where your peripherals and everything is. If the ball's gone on the other side, we'll turn around. And that's when the people behind you can cover your back and they're talking. So the biggest thing about zone, I would say the biggest thing out of anything is communication. That everybody's talking and shutting down the space in the area. But the Danny?
Yeah, bro. Nah, bro, this is me. Like, just for everyone who's watching, me and Ora, we play against each other quite a bit. We've never had this kind of discussion. So, like a lot of you guys, I'm hearing this for the first time, but everything that he's saying is exactly what I teach and what we believe too. Just maybe just a few other things, and I know he's already got that as part of his game plan as well. The communication is indeed the biggest thing. The biggest thing. Yeah, loud, like Ora said before, if there's that one defender doing nothing, they need to be the loudest. They should be the loudest. There's no pressure on them, so they can direct everybody else. They can be that cover if they need to. So they got to have a bit of vision. Everyone needs to have a bit of vision and a bit of sense to know that they can leave their spot at this time because it's safe, and I'm better else serving somebody else in another area close by, and if not, then I'm sending someone else to get there.
So sorry, I'm just another part-time, if I can, being that nosy and silly student who asks all the obvious questions. But could you give some examples, perhaps just one or two, like what precisely are the kids saying to each other? You know what I mean? Because I think we hear as coaches, we hear, comms is important. But on the kīorahi field, like in the moment, what are they saying, and who are they telling what? And if you could just provide a couple of examples as to what exactly the kids will be saying that demonstrates good comms on the field.
Just a few examples. Can you see my arrow, or is it only on order screen? Can't see my.
I'll stop sharing, bro, and then I'll go to you. Then you can share your page.
I was just gonna circle on your one, bro, but it's all good. We'll bring your one back up and I'll just talk to it. So yeah, just anyway, like I suppose you're only in little teams, even though we're a big team in any kind of zone sort of defense. Take this top white circle, the top in the left corner. Yeah, that one, bro. Say that's a girl, and she's defending there, and she's also defending with that boy who's in behind her, and then she's defending. Let's just say it's with that other pink person. So they're part of a team of 8, but they're their own little team. Really, if that blue boy ends up, well, that blue boy's got both of their backs. Okay, so he is really talking hard to both of those two, and the type of kōrero that he's saying, it doesn't have to be anything too fancy. Like, it's just, I'm here, I've got you. I'm here, I've got you. Go, you go. And it's just repetitive. Same type of kōrero. At the same time, you know, she's talking to him the same way. If she's missed a tag, missed.
So it's there.
Yeah. And so those three really talk to each other a lot, you know, and then that blue boy, he'd be talking hard to that other pink one. And so they're just in, there's not a lot of time where that one girl we started with, that white circle, is talking to someone right across the other side of the field. They're just really talking hard out to each other. Just encouraging each other to go hard, to give their all. And then I suppose the next big thing is they're going to miss at some point. They're going to miss at some point. There's going to be a try scored on them. They don't necessarily want to get on each other's case about it, and unless they have that kind of relationship. But really, they should be problem solving. So I suppose as coaches, that's something that we need to do is give them the skills to stop the try. And if there's a try that's scored, okay, quickly, why did that happen? You didn't do your job. You know, you didn't put enough pressure on, whatever it is, but they need to be given those skills to quickly sort it out. Because if they don't sort it out, there's a big chance that's going to keep happening. They're going to keep getting scored on, and you're not going to, as the coach, you're not going to be able to sort it out until quarter time, or you're sending a sub on with the right message to try and fix it up. So little simple things, bro. Go hard. I got you. I'm here. Nothing too fancy. That's for mine anyway.
I guess for us there, and there are teams out there, I should have said at the beginning, but one thing we definitely do is we quarter the field up, you know, and so if I'm talking about this area over here, and I say this first quarter over here is red, yellow, green, and blue, you know, just by doing that straight away, you've simplified the whole field in terms of players know which quarter that they've got to be at. Yeah. You know, and you do it in rugby league on the field. You break up the 20, the middle, the 40. You know, you got good ball. You're playing on your green. You just do all those things to make it easy, because you know when everybody out there's going, yeah, I'm free. If you just call, you know, I'm standing over here in the black, and you say throw it to the black, the person in the middle knows straight away, you know, the tipper goes over there. So, you know, in terms of, you know, when you've got defense in that, like if we say the ball's over here, you know, they've applied pressure. They've come in here, you know, and then so over here, shucks, that one there, you know, you can already see that this person here in the black is already free, But as soon as you know, this person is talking and going, you've got a free person over there, you know, but it's all right, go, because they've still got to get the ball back in. Yeah. And as soon as the ball goes back in, you know, well then everybody resets again, and then it's just going over, you know, oh shucks, sorry for it. And it's just resetting, coming back and going across, you know. And the biggest thing, like one of the things I always used to say to our kids is, intensity on defense and composure on attack.
Mm.
You know, when we used to play man-to-man, because it's real intense, you got to be there. And then on attack, you got to have the ability to slow things down and see it. So, you know, in terms of a zone, you know, that's sort of one of the things that they worked on, you know, and what a lot of people do. And then, like, also, when you're playing, and just imagine that, oh, shucks, once again, that we've got the ball out here, you know, oh, there I go again, I'm probably going to do this. Sorry, Whānau. You know, but your defenders there, if the girls are over here, you know, and they're already defending, ideally the free people are already in the gap, say they're in the space here. And that's what you're waiting for, you know. You're waiting for that space, and everybody should be watching to creep in. And at the same time, you'll probably be talking with the tipu person in the middle. That's the whole objective, is to create noise over here to allow space down here. And so, you know, usually what the better teams do is they'll drag away. They'll drag this person over here, drag them over there. And what they're trying to do is free up this area over here. You know, so we're making noise on either side. Because you're always going to have, you know, if we make enough noise, especially if it's boys on the outside, the secret is, you know, well, it's not a secret, but everybody knows that you want to allow the space for your girls. Because the boys aren't going to, you know, say, oh, I'll stay on their girl. They're going to watch the boys because they think I've got to cover her. So if you've got really good girls in your team, you know, work that area to try and free up space. And the other thing is, once you've done that, if I'm an attacking team, the closer I am to the edge, as soon as we go edges and go close like this, hey, they definitely can't go too far, because it's just catch 1, 2, 3, try. You know, sometimes I see a lot of kids, oh, there we go again. They oh shucks. The space is free, like it's free over here, but I'm too far back. You know, and by the time I've called for the ball, we've passed the ball out over there. But by the time that I start running forward, these defenders have already started to shut the space down. And so that's why it's a heavy decision. Is once you've collected, you know, 1 or 2, that you start to move forward to the edge, get right on the edge of the line, because if they're that far away, you just take your 1, 2 and you dive. And the biggest thing for us is we say, if we don't get in and we don't score, that's fine. We back our defense. And then that gives the kids the confidence to attack it.
So I have a part in regards to, because using your clock imagery for the field, I think, I guess early in our kīorahi journey, you know, for Kioma, it was all about the ara, using the ara as a screen. You know, that was the whakaro when we first sort of came out the gate. And so as I listened and watched you describe that, you were on the other side. And that was interesting. Is that deliberate, or is it just, could it be either side, or is it deliberately the opposite to te ara? Because I found it interesting that you were playing it on that side, but I guess because that's all of the space, whereas te ara is a zone that nobody can score in. So is it deliberate to be opposite te ara?
I think it depends in terms of what you're doing, because you know, I know a lot of teams run a lot of plays around here, you know, to isolate and have the extra man coming around. But that's good for, you know, if you want to start out, but once everybody's got to that level, they know that this person here, this girl that sits at the 12, well, for us, she knows that she can follow around. You know, so if this person tries, if these 2 players try and do a cut over here to draw this player, oh, there I go again, to draw that player over here and come, there I go again. Sorry for that. They're over there. And realistically, this girl was on this side, and we're having this attacking player coming around there, that she knows that she has the confidence to leave the area and follow, you know? And so that's why this girl that plays at the 12, she can go either side. And most times they don't, because our girls get stuck over here. And this player here, they're the one who's either going, creating the extra man either side, and that stops this person from going here. But that's why these two can actually come around. He'll come that far. But because you've got a clever girl at the top, or boy, or whoever it is that can just go around, and everybody just rotates one space over. And so I think, in terms of that's where it can go to next, that these won't be boys or girls. It'll just be whoever the four are on the inside. I think the game can move this way where it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or girl inside the defending out there, because they'll just rotate. This player will just rotate in again when I stop moving that, and it just changes. And if you can have a team that continuously does that, that's another style too, in terms of where people go from. But it's just about having enough players to make the noise, to drag people across. And that this defender's not going to get dragged across right here if this person is this far out. But as soon as that person goes forward, then he's got to think, I've got to actually cover him, and I've got to cover him. And if this person is here, well, then he's definitely got to come, because they're right on the edge. As soon as they catch, they've got to go. And when players are out here, they're not much of a threat, because I've still got time. When he takes one step in, I'm taking a step in. When he's taken 3 steps in, I've taken 3 steps in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, so when it's just making sure, for me, I make sure that the kids understand, if this attacker's gone here, you've come here. Hey, and you've gone there. Why can he leave? Because this person over here is right there to cover. And the ultimate thing is what you want to help out is in the zone actually needs to be like that. So you never end up at 5 in. And so what we do all the time is, if my 4 are already over here and the ball's down this end, these people got no business being inside here.
Yeah, waste of time.
Yeah, just drop out. And as soon as the ball comes on that side, well, then he comes back in. Hey, the ball's over here. This person drop out. And then it's just safe around being around. We're never going to end up at 5 in. And you're saying it early. You're saying, ref, I'm out. So as soon as they run in, of course, everybody in every team and every supporter and mum and dad always go, 5 in, ref. Hey, but if you've already identified to the ref early, I'm out, ref, I'm out. And you let your team know, chasing. Chasing, get her up. So in terms of, that zone D, that's the types of things that it looks like. The other one that this is how it used to be back in the day, that people used to play a 8 spread press zone. So they would spread themselves out all around like this, all around the outside, and they communicate all together. The good thing about that is, is you're watching to see where that ball goes. So if we're looking at, and I think Ngā Tapuwae played this really well, and so this is something that we've had to go into and talk about, because if you hang out here, they're just waiting for you to pass the ball straight out, and then you just get pressure straight away. Pressure there, these two come in, they cover, and then once again, you've got cover over here. And they start to work their way out. And their communication is really good, because in the time that their ball's flowing out, he's already applied pressure, So it's pretty hard just to catch the ball and get a poke, because you're looking at pressure here, you're looking at there, and you're looking at there, So that's what, some of the press teams that do it well. But like everything, there's all these strategies, and then you've got to work out a way on how to, come up with something to beat this, and obviously if you're trying to put people over here, the pressure's still over there, and then they reset again, My strategy was when we tried to go up and do that against Danny in the first year, was something that our kids couldn't do really well, was to hold the ball on the outside for as long as we could and make noise, running back and forwards around here and creating cuts in there. Because as soon as you pass the ball back to the middle, their defense would reset again, And so our objective was to try and disrupt it so that we could break it, you know, and then once it was broken, then we could attack it a little bit. And so that was the sort of the strategy that we went with in 2019, that those kids were able to understand, you know, even to the point where would load up one side. At one point, I don't know if Danny saw, but we went like this. We loaded that way because we were wondering, I wonder if these three are going to come. You know, if we knew they were going to apply pressure like this, if the ball was there, and then this one would come over here, you know. But if we went, oh, bugger. Like my thing was to still create pressure again, was to break it up and come over to create more numbers in this area.
Yeah.
And, you know, would they move or would they stay? Would they hold to their zone? Because once that happened, you know, the objective was to try and get this to allow these two, you know, because if we had pushed all of that over, and I'm just talking strategy, and you know, I've got nothing to hide, and people might be, oh, he's giving it away, he's telling Danny what he's gonna do, you know, but for us, it just makes us better, you know, and like anything, people know game plans, they see it all the time, but it's the options that you take when you see the gap. Do you run the right thing? So, you know, that was a strategy that we try to get. This person over here was Awa, you know, and he was one of the talented boys that we had, you know, so we wanted to create space for him to be on a one-on-one over here.
I so, yeah.
Yeah. So it was those sort of things. Oh, I don't know, Danny, you got anything on it, brother?
Oh, bro, you know my defense really well. It's good. No, we don't call it press, but we just call it, let's do our defense, but it's a really good name for it. Yeah, it's, I suppose, well, when I talked earlier, I talked about league, coming from a league background and stuff, and our defense that we always sort of played it's just all about pressure, and you give the ball carrier as little time as possible to, like how you were saying, you can prepare kids to take the right options and stuff, but throw a little bit of pressure in there, and even your really good ones are not going to make the best decision every single time. So yeah, it's about pressure. Our defense is about pressure, and yeah, the most amount of pressure that we can apply to the ball carrier as possible. So if they make a decision to throw middle back to the kaitiaki and it doesn't quite reach there, we've got someone there to intercept it, or we've got, you know, they pass to the side and pass to their left and they didn't see properly, but there's someone there ready to intercept it. So it's really about pressure, and I think a good defense should always have a lot of pressure on it, and it's sort of, you can take that back to any of the defenses, man on, a whole lot of pressure. There's a whole lot of pressure on that person being marked to get away from their man. And there's also a whole, like, so you do that and you might be able to practice that really well. Yeah, sweet, we got a guy who can get away from his marker, or we've got a couple of girls who can get away from their markers, but now the pressure's on the kaitiaki to get the ball exactly where it's needed. And so that's what man on does. It applies a lot of pressure to each individual. The zone ones I find with the 4 in 4 out, generally a defense, most of those defenders that are defenses like that, those pink ones, those girls out there, generally a lot of the defenses, it's only them that are applying the pressure. And to me, it's not enough. That's not enough pressure. So if you, and teams do have them, but if you've got a system where maybe one of those boys shoots out and helps 2 girls, or helps 1 girl, then that's maybe a bit more pressure. But you see, you know, if 1 girl's coming from one area to be alongside another girl, it's just, I think there's too much time for the ball carrier to decide what they want to do. They can make a few mistakes before even giving the right pass or all going for the try. So I'd like to see, that's one thing I'd like to see is a heap more pressure. I know, I don't know if you've got it in here, bro, but it is another defense, just we call it a passive, where you're just standing around. Like, it was that one we use tally up 7 po, and he's running and score. Just when the team stands all the way around the outside of Te Roto and there's no pressure, the Kioma team has all day to go around, collect po, they can waste time, and then they can run in. There's no pressure there. A little bit more pressure when you're trying to score, because you've almost got to get it right. You've tagged 7 po, there's a bit of pressure on you now to score. But we sometimes, we haven't faced it at nationals, but in Tāmaki, some teams would play that passive defense where they're just standing around, and then all of a sudden one person would just shoot out. And sometimes just that one person was enough to disrupt us, because our kids weren't expecting. We'd never practiced for anything like that.
Sure.
And it was just enough to throw our kids off, and then all of a sudden they're throwing an intercept away. It's 2-on-1, but they'd give an intercept away, or they'd try and go for the po and get double tagged when they could have easily just passed it off. No one else was under pressure. So I think any defense you choose, make sure there's some type of pressure in there.
I love some of the kōrero that you've shared. That sort of pricked my ears was in regards to, well, one, knowing your opposition. That's important, but also how to navigate the KIORAHI tournament, which is all of the games in 24 hours, and how important it is to keep your cards close to your chest. Like that's a whakaaro that you have, and it's knowing how to, or being aware to use strategies that can conserve your energy, because you're building to the ultimate game, and you don't want to get there and arrive on E. So that was really helpful to hear that kōrero in regards to when approaching the tournament style. And I like how in your sharing of these, as important as it is for coaches to know how to employ these defensive strategies, it's just as important to then figure out how to break them as well. And I guess that's part of the key, and I think Danny has mentioned that to me before, is that's almost as much reason to learn the defense as to use it as to know how to break it. So yeah, tēnā kura mo tērā kōrero, that's awesome.
I think that like most people, like Danny said, like for us, when I say we, I'm talking about both Ngā Tapuwae and Rakaumanga. Without actually going to Danny's trainings, I know that you prepare yourself for 3 types of defense. That doesn't mean that we're going to play those 3. We're going to play to our strength. But if like, we're not going to play man-to-man defense against a Gisborne boys, the Hamilton boys, because they're just too quick. But they're definitely going to do it against us. So we've got to learn how to get separation. You've got to find places where you can create separation, where you can create confusion, or is it that we're just drawing the boys out and just to allow the girls space, because you trust your girls, or and it's having that communication with the kaitiaki and knowing if I'm going to the right, am I dropping on the inside or am I dropping on the outside? Is it a short ball going in close, or is it going overhead, or am I stepping to the right and bouncing back to the left? So you've got to have all these things, because if you don't, you're not going to get separation. So it's hard enough getting the ball. Don't even worry about the tipu here. Don't even worry about getting post. Just get the ball first. And once you've got the ball, then you've got to get out there and get it. And then you've still got to score. So you've got to create separation again to get in. So when you're playing against top teams that defend really hard like that, there's 2 parts of it. You're not going to pretty much go out and get a po and then score. Hey, unless you've got Speedy Gonzalez in your team, which we don't, you know. So we see it as po first, and if it's open, then we'll go. But then you got to create, the next thing for us is just creating space when we're going to score, you know. So if you're really serious about trying to get to the top end of these things, you've got to think that far ahead, you know. And then probably the next thing is, you know, you've actually got to go in depths of understanding body language, you know, reading eyes, reading which way are their hips facing, you know, are they turning back to catch, those types of things. You know, that's a whole another level within itself, you know. But it's all got to do with getting a little bit of an edge, because that's all you're going to get. You're going to get a half a second. One thing that I definitely do all the time is I yell a lot at training, and I create a whole lot of pressure and a whole lot of noise, because that's what happens in semi-finals and finals time. You know, something that in a normal round robin game, it's just a catch. It's just a catch, and you're going to score. You know, but in a grand final, it's not a catch. It's not just a simple catch.
Yeah.
Realistically, it is, but it's just got all the pressure on it because it's a grand final game. You know, so that's what we do to ourselves. We apply a whole lot of pressure to us, so we know what that's like when the time comes. You know, but once again, like, we go there, and you've got to know all these three, you know, what we've already seen, and be ready for whatever's out there. Because I've actually seen a Kura. We played our first game. They came across. They had a watch, and their kaioko started going, "We're gonna start doing that. We're gonna start doing this. You see what that boy does, you know." And you know, that's why this is awesome. I think that we help our Kura, and then you get an idea of where the thinking's at and what it takes. You know, because this is going to elevate our game of kīorahi and helping each other out.
Yeah, definitely will, bro. I just as you spoke, that's what we did. Well, we came to Whanganui into 2013, and Rakaumanga was the team. You had a kaitiaki, bro. I don't know what her name was.
Ihipera.
She was amazing, bro. She's one of the greatest kaitiaki I've ever seen. The way you used her so much, like, I know there's teams that do that, but she was like your quarterback, bro. You know, you just go to her, and then she'll just put the ball on a dime, sort of thing. And you sort of see that, and just hearing you say what you said before, you see that and you go, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. So the next year, you know, we prepared for Wellington, and we had a kaitiaki, and, you know, we sort of chose someone similar to Ihipera. It was a boy, male, Chance was his name, and he was, you know, same size, tall, strong, and we expected the same of him, you know, but he'd only just started, you know, so to throw that expectation on him, it just wasn't right. So I didn't truly know. I didn't know our team well enough. You know, I'm wanting to apply what we're seeing. This is the best team in Aotearoa, and this is how they play. We're going to copy that, but it didn't work. So in our trainings and stuff, we were sort of doing all these quarterback style plays here, fakes out there, and it just wasn't happening. So we kind of stuck with it anyway into the tournament, and then, you know, after one or two games, I think we ended up we defended quite well in that tournament, but we couldn't score points, and it wasn't Chance's fault. It was just, you know, that how I had prepared them, and it was very like, sort of, you know, one-minded, like just focus one way instead of there's multiple options. And so he was just stuck in that, but our whole team was stuck in that. And I think we ended up drawing with, like, Te Kura o Hirang with it was Roira, and then we're playing, and after that game we were just like, oh, we need to change it. And so it forced us to change it after that. But I learned from that experience, you can take things from other schools, but you still got to know your own team and what their strengths and weaknesses are. So yeah, that was a cool little flashback for me, bro?
I was wondering, just as we sort of head to some of our final kōrero, and we had a couple of pātai from some kaiako leading up to it, which would be cool for us to be able to get your whakaaro on. But I mean, perhaps it looks like that you've exhausted the list of potential strategies. Like it's like, oh, there's nothing more to do. You've got A to Z of offense and A to Z of defense. Do you believe that? Or do you think that there's just going to be innovation somewhere, and somewhere along the line, you know, the trajectory of KIORAHI is going to change again, where someone else takes it somewhere else, and maybe you don't know specifically what that is, but do you believe it will happen, or do you think that actually no, just like in basketball, you know, they play the stuff they do, that's locked, you know, they just keep taking threes from further and further back. That's about how much has changed. You know, for KIORAHI, do you think you've hit the ceiling for strategies, or do you think there's so much more room for just creative thinking to happen?
I think, you know, if I've learned anything from the beginning of KIORAHI, that it's only ever going to keep on changing. You know, it'll always evolve, because, you know, we're always looking for an edge. And kura te āhua Māori nei. And I'm not just talking competitively, but I'm talking creatively too. You know, if we think about, you know, nā tāne whakawehia I ona mātua, you know, from that time, from spreading that and taking the leap of creating something different, you know, and looking at what's out there, you know, it's always going to happen, you know, and then I think there's even it'll come down to a time where there's going to be more than just a kaitiaki and everybody on the outsides. You know, there's going to get to a time where there's going to be like a scooter type on attack, where all his job is to not score, but to create opportunities for the wingers to score. And what does a winger look like in terms of, you know, kīorahi? It's the people who just run down the edge of, you know, of the ara. You know, it's going to take a Cameron Smith to create a whole new position in terms of what that looks like. You know, and because I think our kids are always looking at those types of things, and I think because of the people that we have in kīorahi and the passion they have for, you know, I guess it takes a little bit longer, because we're not like the NRLs where we get players for 10, 20 years, that we only get them for the, you know, for 5 years and they come and change. But you know, it's interesting that you have Koroheke, who was really an outstanding player when he was at school, you know, and then he went and helped the Hamilton boys and, you know, led them to a title. He went there, you know, and I hated him because they beat us. But, you know, and that's an awesome thing though, because that just had taken the game to another level and looking at what's out there. And then it's gone full circle again. Now he's coaching with his own kura, you know. He turned up to a tournament and he goes, what the hell is all this? Where's all the man-to-man? And I said, you know, that's how far the game's gone and how it's changed. And straight away, his mind started kicking into, okay, then what are we going to do? What does it look like for us, you know? What do you think, Brother Danny?
Yeah, plenty more to come, bro. And I think it's only smart that teams come up with something new. Like we've sort of said throughout the kōrero, all these defenses, all these types of attack, you and I can plan for. We can plan for all of these. We will plan, we'll train for against all of these types of styles. But you come up with something new we've never ever seen. We've got the first 5 minutes to figure it out. And you know, maybe with you and I just having been around, maybe it will take us a couple of minutes, and maybe we'll get a sub out there who can go in there and go, yep, sweet, you're going to change it up for us in this quarter, if we're lucky. But if you then play us again a different style of defense in the next 5 minutes, well, it takes us like 2 or 3 minutes to figure it out. So I don't know. I'd love to see putting it out there, but you know, if you come in to play us, show us something different. Like it will take us a little while to get used to it, and that can only work in your favor. The next tournament we'll probably switch on to it, but you just keep coming with your own styles.
So if we can get to some of the pātai that have been asked leading up to the kōrero, and one of them is about resources for coaches, kīorahi resources, and so specifically drills videos. So there's a pātai on that, and there's also a pātai around, you've mentioned, brother and sister schools, Hamilton boys and girls coming together for coaches of teams such as those. Is there a tried and true way for them to make the best of that situation? They're not a co-ed school that has all the team in the one place at the same time. So yeah, if you guys had any thoughts on do kīorahi drills videos exist? And perhaps if the answer is no, then would you suggest another realm of sport to pick some ideas from? And then the second question is, what are some tautoko, words of tautoko for kura who are boys and girls high schools who are on different sites, but they come together for tournaments? So yeah, I'll throw that last pātai back to you guys.
For me, like a lot of what we do is we create the drills ourselves from what we've seen. So for us, when we do warm-ups, we've got to create something that's going to create space. So and I see it a lot at tournaments when I go there. A lot of people are just your normal basic warm-ups, your truck and trailer, that sort of stuff. But I guess for our truck and trailer, and it's something that a lot of people need to do. For me, it's about, put your kaitiaki in the middle when you're doing truck and trailer. And rather than do truck and trailer, just have one attacker and one defender right on them. That's one simple thing that you can do. And you're just doing your four corners, but you're just applying that pressure and the attacker's running around. That's one thing we do all the time, We give you a meter, or then you've got to do it either way. And that's good because you're getting practice for the kaitiaki throwing out. You're getting practice for the defender of sticking if you're playing man-to-man. You practice ripping, you practice getting away from the defender, you practice with pressure underneath, and if you can get that pressure into your warm-up straight away, you're not going to get a shock. The body's not going to get a shock all of a sudden, when you get out on the field. So I think that's definitely one that teams can look at it as having that man-to-man pressure, because when you're going to play top teams and they apply that to you, at least you know what it's like. You've already had that in your warm-up, and stuff like that. I think that's definitely one. I think a lot of things that we do is also just when you're running up your 10 meters and running back, going up 10, coming back 5, and then the next row or wave of players coming forward, as soon as the attackers hit the 5 and they go forward, it's you to chase. So you're chasing to go for a rip, and then you come back, and then you become the attacker. So those drills, when you start off as a defender, hit the line, come back halfway, and then you're the attacker. And then the next team comes off, they start off as defending. So it's trying to come up with, just drills where they're applicable to the game. Rather than just stretching, because if you're not doing your warm-ups, then that are based around the game between catching, passing, attacking, ripping, well, then you're not really helping out our kids in terms of a warm before they get there. Yes, stretching and everything is important, but I think everybody already knows all that stuff. The fundamentals are the catching, the passing, the ripping, all of that stuff that you can definitely do if you're in a split kura, where that's girls on girls, stuff like that. And I don't know what it's like because I've never been to those types of kura, but for me it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or girl. You still need the same fundamentals and the same stuff to be warmed up, catching, passing, ripping, all of those sorts of things. Brother Danny?
Yep, I would say this video, bro. To be honest, this is probably the number one resource kīorahi out there at the moment. So you can go back, watch this on Facebook. You can jump on YouTube and watch it as many times as as possible, and that's why we're doing this. Yeah, there's been some real gems shared tonight. It will take, you know, Ora and I probably learned this over many years of attending competitions. And it's taken us going and observing, learning it for ourselves, making mistakes, then reapplying them to our own trainings and our own teams to really settle on this. So, you know, you can just sort of skip a few years of doing that and try and take in some of our teachings, and that'll help you a lot. Definitely prepare for as many defenses as you can. But like Ora says, you gotta train for the game. If you're playing against a man-to-man defense, you're gonna get a real good man-to-man defense is gonna mark you really tight. Are you practicing as tight as some team will mark you? So some things you can do, and so sometimes it's never the case. You can't mimic that with your own team. So maybe you need to get in some ex-students, maybe to get some ones that just left school that are, you know, they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose to the school kids. So get in some older ones, or push them around, give them some rubbish and stuff. So that they might lose. They might get a bit of a bashing at training, but it will prepare them. It will prepare them, and sometimes, yeah, that's just what's needed to sort of finish off your trainings. Just on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, there's plenty of videos. I know when I was sort of first starting, and I'm even now, I'm still, you know, searching the internet to find as much footage of kīorahi as possible, just so that I can continue to evolve our team. We talked about will it continue to evolve? It will, because Ora and I are continually changing. You know, there's always something new that I'm trying with my team. We might have our try and true tested sort of plans, but okay, it's maybe tweaking our blocking system. It's maybe tweaking our shooting system. Yeah, there's heaps and heaps of videos. Rakaumanga was always the team when we first started, so I was happy. There's a couple of YouTube videos of them in Wellington, and I think they're up to about 3,000 views or something like that. I'm pretty sure I'm about 2,000 of those views. I watched those over and over again, just trying to go, man, this is the best team. How are they playing? What's something that could work against them? So yeah, finding any of those. Rangatahi tū Rangatira, they got a Facebook page, and there's a whole lot of videos there from Gisborne, 2015, I think it is. That's a cool resource. And I think the other one is just give us a message. You can see from our kōrero tonight, we don't have a lot to hide. Anything we can pass on is only going to grow the game. It's going to mean we grow ourselves, we grow our teams, and what we want is to come to a competition where every game is tough. You know, we finished second to last, but we thoroughly enjoyed it because we were tested, and we go home and we prepare again. But yeah, like Ora says, all drills you do at training, they need to apply to the game. It's waste of time if it's just your normal truck and trailer. You know, add some kīorahi to it. Yeah. Did you want to answer that Hastings one too, bro? There was we got sent through an email, and it was just a question from Hastings. I'll give it my answer anyway, and then you can jump on the back. But basically, they were having, Hastings has a bit of issue where they don't get to train as much as a kura like ours would, being two different separate kura, just, you know, trying to get together and train. they can find it hard. So they sort of asked us to come up with some ideas. You know, what would you do? What would I do to sort of help them out? And I sort of wrote down a few notes when I seen that email come through, and all I could think of is that probably the two coaches really need, you know, got a boys school, girls school, coaches need to sit down and really come out with their plan. This is how we're going to defend. These are our two lots of defenses that we're going to really go hard at. And this is our style of attack that we're going to go hard at. Maybe there's a couple of styles. This is our way of blocking. This is our way of shooting. This is our Hastings boys and girls sort of thing for this campaign. If it was me, I would Hastings boys, I would choose 16 boys. If Hastings girls, I'd choose 16 girls, and we'd train separately, but that whole game plan we would train. So if it's my Hastings girls, 4 girls might be shooters, 4 girls on the outside. If we're running a zone defense, those 4 girls know how to do that. The 4 shooters know how to do that. And then we might interchange. So every single girl, where possible, knows that shooting role, knows that defense role. 2 or 3 blockers, they, you know, might change that around. So you got maybe 4 or 5. And then I do the same at Hastings boys. And, you know, those comms and those things that we talked about earlier, they're learning exactly the same. So they're learning exactly the same. And if you're coming together once a week, or it's 3 or 4 times in the term, whatever it is, then you can slot in a lot easier than you could if you're coming in brand new. And you might also find that, hey, it's not actually our 4 boys who are our best shooters. We've got probably another 2 girls or this 1 girl who can jump in. So I don't know, maybe use a recording your sessions and you're sharing that with one another, and, you know, Hastings boys coach is looking at the girls and likes what he sees from her, and so on and so forth. But then, you know, when they finally get those chances to come together, just because those girls were great on defense in these roles, they might not fit. They also might not fit in with certain boys. We have it in our team that we might put our strongest girl, our most vocal girl, heartiest girl, next to one of these cocky boys, and one of her main jobs is to calm him down, is to remind him that he's not all that, you know. So if he gets out of line and, you know, he actually makes a mistake, but he turns around and he's blaming it on, maybe not on that strong girl, but he's blaming it on that other girl. That other girl's there to say, nah, that's your fault, you know. So once you've learned your systems, it's then coming in and probably working out your relationships, your combinations, and trying to make those as strong as possible. But because I don't really know exactly how they do it, but I'd never want to turn up to a tournament with them not really knowing one another or trying to figure things out on day one, because it should probably bite you in the ass later on, where one of those little things, those little moments where someone should have done something, or someone wasn't there, but no one's got enough confidence to turn around and tell him or her, this is what should have happened. That could get in your way on day 2. So yeah, I think that was some pretty good advice, bro.
Mean advice. Yeah, I totally support what you said about that the 2 coaches firstly need to put out early what their strategy is. You know, once you have the strategy, then you can totally, like, what's the girls' role, because then that's all they'll continue to train on, and what's the boys' role, you know. So if the boys are playing the inside, you know, that's all they should be training on, communicating and shutting down. You know, whether you've got other boys there on the outside, you know, that's what they do. If it's the girls, well, then they're continuously applying pressure on the outside, you know. So it's once they know what their role is, Danny's spot on, you know, that you should just be definitely working on that, you know. And if you can't get 16, you know, well then if you can only get 8, we'll break them into 4-on-4 and just play a kora, you know, and that'll become your strategy, that your strength will be, oh, we know how to do this in this kora, so let's work towards this. Let's not have a plan and go, oh, we'll wait till the boys turn up and then, well, hopefully it works, you know. So if it was me and I just had my 8 girls, you know, and our job is to score on the outside, well then that's what our job is. I'm not focusing about where the boys are, because if we're continuously working towards our strength, you know, by the time the boys come around, you know, it's, well, you fellas just drag the boys away and let us do the rest of it, you know, or if it's vice versa, girls just hold the girls away and just open the space for the boys to go through, you know, definitely and things like that, you know. But like there's definitely roles that you can work on when you're not together. You know, you can definitely always practice on beating a person, practice on your ripping, you know, and communication, because it's the same thing whether it's a male or a female, you know. And when you come in, you should be able to work it out when you come in, you know, in terms of talking, if you've done enough of that. It's just probably just understanding the relationships where they come in. That, you know, if it was me and we'll split that much, you know, well then I'm going to say to them, I don't want to be doing a whole lot of work on what our game plan is, because I know that each have been working on that. I'll be doing a whole lot of work on, you know, how do we gel together as a team? You know, you two make sure that you're sitting down. You know, nobody's allowed to just be a pack of boys or a pack of girls. When we go and eat, you go and all eat all together, and make sure you fellas come back with the same combo of McDonald's, or, you know, just small things like that. But we're starting to understand what makes them click. Because everybody can have the same game plan out there, but it's how you gel out there on the field in terms of communication. And sometimes, you know, you're going to get boys who just don't talk. You know, they're out there, they just play. You know, they're not big on comms, and we get a lot of those kids. So you've got to be smart enough to create a position for them, or put people around them, like Danny was talking about, you know, the girl who brought the boy back down, you know, or the girl that needs to be there to talk up for the boy to make sure that he's there, you know, just read his body language or things like that. So I think there's strategy on the field, but there also needs to be a lot of reading and understanding what goes in terms of cohesion off the field as well. That definitely helps out. And I think we're lucky in our smaller schools, because we're always in, you know, you're pretty much the same kids who do everything all together. You know, you're the Kapahaka team, you're the KIORAHI team. Oh, hang on, we got basketball, and then you fellas off to Wakaama, so we can't do KIORAHI till they come back from Wakaama. You know,
it is a benefit. It's one of the benefits of a smaller kura, bro. Like, you know, you can have the most annoying fella ever in your team, but well, I've been in his class, or he's been in my school since we were 5 years old together. So as annoying as he is, I know that he's got some good qualities, and I also know how to fix it up without, you know, draining a lot of my energy. So it is one of the real benefits of a smaller kura.
Love it. I love that kōrero about being able to, basically you can train with any number of kids, and I've really, that's sort of been a whakaaro that's been bouncing around in my head, because I basically want to train, even out of season, I want to train kīorahi. And some, like, look, even if I have one or two people, we can do something. So I love that whakaaro that, you know, we just have to be a bit innovative in what, how we put a magnifying glass on something in the game and we pull that out, and that's what we train, even if it's just like 2 of us. Rawe tērā. I also love how we went a little bit over our kōrero, but hey, that happens. That happens for whānau mā. But so just before we do wrap up, I'll throw it back to both of you for any sort of closing kōrero. And as we know, you know, there's absolutely no reason why we just can't continuously have kōrero and keep making as much noise as possible, and basically just helping each other out, because that's huge. So, you know, I'm looking forward to what our next kaupapa will be, and you know, whether we start to bring in some of those raukura who've left the kura, you know, and what's kīorahi for them now if they're not coaching, you know, and what opportunities do they have? Or do we get some current rangatahi in, you know, get their whakaaro on it, and we visit the regions and we talk to different people doing it differently across Aotearoa, because that's a really cool thing too. He always getting excited and ahead of myself. Yeah, just some closing kōrero, if you have any, just before we wrap up, from you both at all.
Just for myself, I think our next kaupapa probably be a good one is we'll probably be talking over the new rules that our cluster opu has gone over in terms of coming up for the upcoming tournament, for our Matariki tournament up there. So, you know, those coaches will be able to have a listen into some of the rules that we've spoke about and the reason for the changes, you know, and those types of things. And, you know, just I think that'll be really good for coaches and players both to hear and understand, to start getting their heads around, you know, as how they can manipulate certain rules with still being within the boundaries of them, you know, looking at the grey areas of things like that, you know, because Richie McCaw was you know, always the greatest about, you know, knowing where the curve was in the line, on how far he could go and certain things, and it's always just finding the edge, looking for a bit of separation between him and the defender, and on the amount of things that they can do. But so I think that's definitely one place. The other thing is, one of the things that I'm working really hard on is to have that tournament live streamed, you know, to have our two commentators there, both Tihi and Danny, you know, calling all the games, you know, for all our whānau, or as many games as we can see, because, you know, I think we're at that stage of it. We're at that stage of being able to, you know, start live streaming our games. You know, we started off, we've got a few mates that just turn up with one camera and he follows, but definitely looking at doing that. And so our whānau can see, you know, what that's like, and that's definitely a space that we want to be able to move into. And so our kids start to get the exposure too, because if there's one thing I've seen through Kapahaka, you know, as soon as it went on to live stream and TV and everywhere, kids started getting popular, they started loving it, and why not get on TV and be able to show your skills on it. But my final thing is that you know, we've spoken about a lot of strategies and attacks and setups and stuff like that, but I always revert it back to like kapahaka for me. And you know, when we talk about Rakaumanga or whangara, the kapahaka, then I'd say the best whangara can be is to remain true to whangara. And so the best that Rakaumanga can be is to remain true to who we are and looking at what our strengths are, you know. So we're not, a whole lot of people can always look at what the All Blacks do, but if you don't have the All Blacks makeup, it's no good doing that, you know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, kia whakapono kia koe tau anō, but you know, ngā mihi brothers, kia koe tihi, brother Danny, awesome.
Yeah, true, bro. Yeah, it's been awesome kōrero. Like we've sort of said a few times, I think if you want to know some stuff, if you do need a hand, just let us know. We can probably be more specific with you when you reach out individually. I know Tihi's said to me, can I send you some video, bro, or can I add you to our page, and can you take a look at a few of our games and stuff? And I'm more than happy to be able to give some feedback to help anyone out. And you know, as much as I'm helping Tihi, I'll help anybody else. At the same time that we're providing help to these other teams, we're learning ourselves. You know, we do pick up things here and there. I told Tihi that as he's preparing to come up against us, maybe to kick me out of the group chat or whatever it is, so I don't pick up on all the little nuances and stuff. But yeah, feel free to flick us an email or message or whatever it is, and be more than happy to. If you've got one little problem, you don't know how to, you need a drill for this, or you don't know what to do, then flick myself or order a message, and you know, when we can, we'll try and help you. And there's also plenty of other people out there too, but definitely reach out to people. Yeah, Tihi, Ora, thank you for your time, fellas. Yeah, this is awesome. I could do it all night.
I know you could. I'm gonna go teach some teenagers tomorrow.
Just one more plug, brother. Just one more plug. Just if you're not doing anything whānau, Geez, I just about forgot. If you're not doing anything in the Taumotu area, they'll have the area schools. The Northern Zone will be coming together on their KIORAHI team. So they've been nice enough to ask us if they want to have a game against Rakaumanga. So tomorrow at Albert Park, 4:30, we'll be going down there and having a run around and sharing some kōrero and stuff and see what the area schools got going. And, you know, I think that's an awesome pathway for our kids to be able to go down there and do something like that. Who knows, we might have a tournament team from our Matariki tournament to go down and play the New Zealand area schools. You know, so there's always an opportunity. Danny Maera is the coach of the New Zealand team.
Karawe tērā, wai I tēnei wā, tēnei te tukumihi kia kōrua ora rawa ko Danny. Mihi mitunga kore kia kōrua mo ēnei o ngā toha o kōrua whakaro. He koha tēnei mā tātou ne, he koha nui. Nā reira, mihi mitunga kore. So yeah, just a big thank you to you both for your generosity of sharing your ideas and how you got to where you are and achieve the things that you're able to achieve. And I really think it's such a ngākau Māori thing to do, just to share it back out. And it was sort of similar to what Tanya said last time, you know, kīorahi doesn't belong to her. And so we keep sharing it out. You know, we don't have a right to hold on to it and, you know, sit on top of the maunga. I think it's beautiful because ultimately it's about strengthening the game and giving the people the tools they need. Yeah, give them everything they need, give them all the kai, all the tapu, all the tools so they can go out and teach kīorahi to the kids in whānau. So yeah, I runga I aua kōrero, kanu te mihi. We'll be back again, no doubt about it. We'll get that program sorted out for what, you know, that the next kōrero will unfold. And thanks to everybody who was able to tune in and share in this kōrero. Engari, kīnoi tātou, unuhia, ki te uru tapu nui, kia wātea, kia māma, te ngā kau te tinana, te wairua, I te ara tangata, koiera, e rongo whakaare, ake ki runga, tūturu, whakamaua kia tīna, haumie, huie, tākie. Kia ora tātou.